So we have been the whole month looking at prosperity, talking about money, M-O-N-E-Y, as an evidence of prosperity. We focused mostly, or a great deal, on opening ourselves up to be more available to receive, learning to recognize the opulence and abundance all around us and within us. This time of year, that's easy. All I have to do is remember to really look when I walk outside at the colors and the explosion of all the good that's there for me. That alone just revitalizes and brings me back to a greater sense of awe and wonder and goodness about life. So we focused on the inflow. Today we're going to focus a little more on the outflow, because it's an all end. It's an everything end. The title of the talk is Share It, Fare It, Please Have a Piece of My Pie. That could be a chant. I will spare you from asking you to do that, but feel free to do it on your own if that's your love. Share it, fare it, please do have a piece of my pie. Because that really is the essence of the flip side, the essence of the giving side, the receiving side. You can't have one without the other, so we've already focused a lot on that. And I don't know about you, but I didn't write this title, by the way. This came from home office, and I just thought it was cute and funny, and I wanted to keep it. And the rest of the talk is mine. But the title was this, and the reason I liked it was because as soon as I read it, I went, no, I ain't sharing my pie. My pie was a big deal when I was a kid growing up. Cakes were everywhere. Mom made cakes all the time. We had cakes, but she didn't like to make pies because it was too labor intensive for the small amount of food you got. Couldn't feed many people off of one pie. So when we had pie, it was carefully divided, and you sure didn't want anybody else messing with your piece of pie. In fact, that was fighting stuff in our family. You mess, that one's mine, don't you touch it. And that one's a little bigger. It's definitely mine. So we get into this whole thing with our giving side, that somehow if we give too much, or if somebody takes a bigger share than I think they should, they are taking. I'm not giving. Nobody. I didn't give my pie. Then it feels like something else is going on there, and it definitely reflects on my limited consciousness if that's what is going on there. Now, if I have pie, I buy a whole one, and then I can have all I want. And I usually don't eat the whole thing, just to be clear. So today we're talking about the flow and abundance and the in and the out. There's a beautiful piece in the Sanskrit. It's the word ritam. What we learn and what we know about is that we have this infinite consciousness that in no way is limited or filtered. It is coming forth. And yet for us to receive it, we are filtering it in different ways. And one of the really powerful things that I have discovered in my life is chanting with Sanskrit. Why Sanskrit, you said? You don't even understand the words. You're right. I have to get a translator to find out what they mean. But what I discover is when I'm chanting, or when I'm simply, and by that I don't necessarily mean out loud, I mean in my mind, in my heart, whatever, but I'm allowing, I'm thinking these words over and over, which helps quiet my mind from all the squirrels that get to running around up there, the squirrel cage thing. And what I've discovered and why I value these so much is they're so ancient. And the only reason ancient has any value is it is deeply established in consciousness of human beings. It's part of the race consciousness, which we talk about here. The human race. Those ideas that have gone into consciousness over the centuries, and that have built up how we understand ourselves in the world. There are a lot of things in race consciousness we want to change, and we're working on that. No question about it. Some things always you will pop up and you, oh my God, I can't believe we've been believing that. And yet, that was there in race consciousness, and it pops up in our minds sometimes. There's a race consciousness belief that sickness is for everybody, and we're always going to have it, and we might as well have a really big industrial medical world to respond to it. which then just invites more. Not knocking medicine, believe me, I'm about to have a wonderful time with it this coming week. So, but the idea here is that those Sanskrit words, ritan, is one that just vibrates all through me when I use it. And what it means is the rhythm of life. And that rhythm of life is all about we as human beings drawing into us all of the good of the world, all of the good of life, and our very breath is evidence of that. We breathe in, we breathe out. We breathe in, we breathe out. Take a minute right now and just observe what's happening in your body. What's happening in you? Notice your breathing. It may be hard, it may be easy. Just notice it. What else is in there? What else is going on right now? Are you worrying about something? Are you breathing out that worry to the world or to your future or to the rest of your day? What are you breathing in? What are you breathing out? What is the rotation? But you know, the ancients believed that everything in life is breathing in and breathing out. It's the rhythm of life that we receive and we give and we receive and we give and it flows. It's beautiful. You know, it's a beautiful language, and it's a great piece to observe within ourselves. Ritam. Well, on a day when you're feeling like things are frazzled, like I've had this morning already, do the ritam in your mind or in your voice. Ritam. And see if it changes anything. See if it brings you back on in line with that steady flow of life as it goes. Ritam. Receive, assimilate, release. That's the rhythm. Receive, assimilate, release. We do that with our air. That's the obvious, easy to see. We do that with our food. We receive, we assimilate, we release. Our ideas. You receive ideas from all around us. Our ideas pop in your mind. Sometimes you don't know where they came from. Sometimes they're from raised consciousness. Sometimes they're from the divine. Sometimes they're just from something you heard somewhere. And sometimes they may be just unique to you. You bring them in. You assimilate. You decide, do I believe that or not? Is the world round or square or flat? How do I believe about that? Bring it in, let it go. Breathing in, assimilation. Assimilation is deciding how much of it to keep or not, and then release, let it go. We do that with love. Love is a total experience. It's not just one way. Love is the whole piece. We receive it, we assimilate it, and then we also share it. Or we share it, and then we receive it and assimilate it. Either way, wherever you start on that pattern, it circles back, it continues. It's also true for money. It's also true for our resources. John Wesley did talk in 1879. He's not still alive today. I did know him personally. He, in that talk, he kind of established what has become the American consciousness about money. And religions and churches and throughout this Western tradition have used the basis of that talk as what has driven our culture. He says, you should earn all you can. I like that idea. I'll keep that. You should spend all you can. Operative word is can. You should give all you can. And he did a whole development. And you know what was interesting, when I was researching this, I realized that, or saw this, that at that time, in the beginnings of Methodism, and it had just gotten started, he was frustrated and delivered this talk because they didn't have any money. And he said, the reason we don't have any money is because people don't know all three things. We got the spending part down, and we got the earning part down. We got to get the giving part down. So today, for what's left of this time, I want to offer a little different slant on that to keep in mind and to stay in the rhythm of the universe, and yet to say and recognize that there is so much more to this story. So receiving, we got that part down. We earn it. We have it gifted to us. The amount of money I have come in every week and every day and how I live and what I live on has some to do with what I earned, some to do with what I've already earned in the past, and some to do with the value being given back to me that I give to the universe, to the world, to the people, to those around me. Every so often I get a surprise check from somebody from 5 years ago, 10 years ago, whatever, that says thank you because what you said or what you did or what you treated for me for has been such a great change and a great life. It is such a joy to get to do that. Not just because the money wasn't planned, but also because it just lets me know the flow is working and it's going and it's going. So we receive, we bring it in as they talk about in the flow of life, and we assimilate. So what do you do about all that money coming in? Do you celebrate it? Or do you think, oh gosh, there ought to be more. There ain't enough. My check is only what? I only brought in how much? How can I live on that? What is wrong with me that I haven't been able to create more value for I should be a multimillionaire at how wonderful I am. I agree, and I agree with that for everybody. But you know, when we put that should on there, we've already said there's something wrong with me that I can't do it, because should is about shame. We should upon ourselves when we shame ourselves. That's, by the way, the 13th or the 11th commandment, one of those down there at the bottom after the 10. It's thou shalt not should upon thyself. That's a big one. That's an important one. If we could all learn to stop that, life would be so much easier. So assimilating it, how much of this is for me? Can we celebrate every time we receive whatever we receive from anywhere? What if you just celebrated every time you saw a penny on the ground and picked it up? Did you ever walk by that penny thinking, well, that's just not enough to fool with? What does that tell you? It tells you don't value the very smallest parts. Or you could be thinking, well, I'll leave it for someone else who needs it more. But what if you found it and picked it up and turned it into something more? Because you're a creative being. One of my former practitioners figured out that if the only thing you ever did was pick up pennies, how much money would you make in a year if every 5 minutes you found a penny? And it was some astronomical hundreds of thousands of dollars, assuming a 40-day week, and every 5 minutes you find a penny. So, and then of course you use it wisely. So you assimilate it, you bring it in, you use it the way that works for you. Then the release, and that's really what I wanted to get to today. The release, or the spending side of this, there are two ways we do that. We release by spending and by giving. Our spending is about blessing it and gratitude. Too often we resent our spending, right? You resent how much the power company requires you to pay every month. You get mad because you just can't, it doesn't seem fair. Everything seems to be going up and getting higher and more expensive. And the more we think that way, instead of thinking that just means the more I need to receive. My teacher, Kennedy Schultz, had a great little card he put out when he put out these little affirmation cards, and it was out there. I found it not long ago, actually, in a book. And it says, life is an expensive proposition. Therefore, I require, not I want, I wish I had, I need to have, but I require abundance and the great flow of money to live within that world. Yes, I hear yes. Can I hear an amen? Okay. We got an amen there from the back. No, this is in the auction. Slow down. Okay. So the idea is that we give freely and we value what we're giving to. I mean, I sometimes am a little frustrated at paying my rent every month because I pay rent because I live in an apartment. But then I think about what happens when something breaks in the apartment. I don't have to do anything. I just pick up the phone and call the front and say, hey, you got to fix this. And they do. Or it needs cleaning up or repairing, or the grounds need to be worked on. All these things that I get in return for the money I give them for rent. And so my rent check always has on it, God bless you, thank you. Now, we don't write checks for stuff anymore. So I was thinking about this because in the olden days, when we wrote checks, we always encourage people, be sure in the line that you say, thank you, God bless you, or bless the check or whatever. But it's all done electronically now. So it's a little harder to do. But you can still take the time every month to review or to look forward to what you're going to be spending. I hope you do some of that. We'll get to that in a minute. But and add that blessing, that word of praise, that word of thanks. And if you don't put it on the check, maybe you send it to whoever you're sending this to. I am very grateful every time I fill up my gas tank in Georgia. I just got back from California. $6.85 a gallon out there. I am very grateful every time I fill up because it's a whole lot less money. Now, I'd be grateful if I lived there because I'd be grateful to be able to drive and travel, which I was while I was there. But you understand? Does it make sense? Am I beating it too much? You getting it? Okay. Bless it. Celebrate in gratitude everything you're spending anything on. And I think with one of the things to be careful about with the way we now pay our bills, and I do it, I have everything electronic, most of it set up so I don't even have to pay attention to it, and it gets done every month. But be sure that the trick in that is sometimes you may not even know how much you're spending, or you may not know where it's going. I just discovered this week I have a subscription to Consumer Reports that I didn't know I had. I've been spending money all year on that thing. So we got to pay attention because it's important that we add the consciousness piece to it. It's just not an automatic action that our money goes out. And the same thing then is also true of giving. Giving freely, giving to places that we value, to causes that we value. We're giving in places where we may not even want to get anything back. Holy Moses, you mean you can just take a piece of my pie and you don't have to give me any more? You bet. Because the value I get from it is the joy of supporting something else. I support a lot of causes. I give here and I give to other places around the country because I so believe in them, especially anything to do with youth and young people. And where I see that working and developing, where I see values being taught and brought forward, I don't hesitate, man. I give there. I give here because this is a place I value. I think having this message, this style of message in this town is so important that it be continued. So this is where my tithe goes to. Now, I'm not about to launch you into why you should tithe. You know that. Tithing is about a process or a system for figuring out ahead of time what part of the pie everybody's going to get. What part you tithe to something that's valuable, that's spiritual for you, what part you spend, what part you receive. So all of that is just part of the mix. God's not going to punish you if you don't tithe. Okay? But I'll tell you what will happen if you consciously give in a way that makes sense to you and that nudges you towards greater prosperity, then that will be a reward within itself. Not because God does it, but because we just live in a system that's set up that way. What we pay attention to expands. What we focus on expands and grows and goes forward in ease. It's so important that we remain consciously aware of how the flow is going and coming and how much is here and how much isn't. And that I want to back up to the assimilation process, because part of that assimilation is deciding how valuable am I that I want to have this money in my availability? And how valuable am I that I want to own this or that property? Which is simply the right to use it. We don't really own it. We just have deeds. So it's the right to use it. And that right is established as long as we've paid for it or are paying for it. I've always said, me and the bank own most of what I have. Well, that isn't true anymore. I own my car, and anything else I own. Because I prefer to live that way. So assimilation is deciding how valuable this is and doing what is necessary to participate in it. So your conscious awareness and your participation with it expands it just by paying attention. Now, I'm not talking about getting down too much in the nitty-gritty, nor do you need to try to figure out how I can get more because I don't have enough. But to be able just to be aware of where it's going and what you're doing and making your choices, and do that from a place of abundance. And throughout all of this, breathing in, breathing out, remembering with every breath that you're participating in the universe and all that it gives us and all that we give to it and all that we give to each other, because we are the universe. We are the life of God itself on the planet. So when I give to you, you give to me, we are participating in that. So we practice the ritam, the flow, the rhythm. So I want to invite you to take a few moments to go within, to turn away from my jibber jabber or anybody else's, that in your head. Just let all that go for a minute. Take a nice deep breath and let it go. Another breath. Recognizing that you are the facility through which life itself expresses. You are receiving life from life itself. You are assimilating it. And you're releasing it on out to other people. Aritam. And as you allow that word to just gently rotate in your mind, see it, hear it, feel it, whisper it if it's better. Ritam, ritam, ritam. And feel your place in the universe come into the rhythm and flow. In a way that perhaps it wasn't before you got here today, or didn't seem so. Ritam. And let your thoughts about money surface. See money operated on by the ritam, by the rhythm of the universe. See what a wonderful tool it really is. Ritam. Ritam. Know with me that there is no lack, limitation anywhere of any kind. What may appear to be such is simply my failing to see God's presence, life's presence, the infinite's presence in that place. So I look deeper, bigger, broader, wider. And I open myself because I'm an expression of that divine. So I can make a difference simply by what I see and know and honor and recognize. So I recognize the great good and value that money can do for me and through me and out to the world, out to my friends, out to wherever I value and choose to channel it or send it. And so as I allow myself to live freely and fully in this divine flow, the only natural response to any of this is gratitude. Gratitude that I live in such a universe, gratitude that I have within me, because of who and what I am, the power to choose, to distribute, to receive, to increase that flow. From a teacup to a bucket to a culvert hose. So I receive, I assimilate, and I give. I do this with ease, with joy, with freedom. I do this with great confidence that the universe, God itself, is supporting me in every part of this desire and intention. This is my truth. Spiritual law has already started work on this and is taking it up and starting to increase my flow and my participation in the rhythm. So all I need to do now is release it and let it do its work. And I do that by simply saying, and so it is.